Good morning, everyone. Okay, we'll continue our book reading this morning, Advanced Selling Strategy by Brian Tracy. We continue from where we stopped last week, where we looked at the presentation process, where he talked about the basic formula for successful presentation, which is show, tell, and ask questions. Show customers, show clients the particular product's benefit and features, how important they will be to him, tell him about it, then also ask questions to know what he or she thinks. Today we're looking at mega credibility revisited. If we could look back to chapter 8, chapter 1, chapter 7 or so, where he talked about mega credibility and how to achieve mega credibility. Today on page 348, on chapter 9 again, we'll be looking at mega credibility revisited. So if you can imagine that your prospect has a buying temperature and the buying temperature must reach boiling point for him to purchase your product, you can think in terms of doing everything possible to raise that temperature. Every time you present a benefit and the customer agrees that that benefit is important to him, his buying temperature goes up. Every time the customer says yes to a part of your presentation, his buying temperature increases. If you can skillfully guide the sales presentation in such a way that the customer understands and agree at each step, his buying temperature will often go up to the point where he will come out and say, "I want it. How soon can I get it?" When you present information on the size and quality of your company and the great number of satisfied customers that you already have, you raise the customer's buying temperature. When you present testimonials from satisfied customers attesting to the quality and value of what you're selling, the customer's temperature goes up. He or she believes you and what you're saying even more. His resistance and reluctancy to buy diminish. When you get your customer involved in the sales presentation by handing him things, asking him to move, and having him calculate numbers and figures, his buying temperature goes up. There is a direct relationship between involvement in the sales presentation and commitment to the outcome. The more the customer takes action during the presentation, the more likely he is to buy at the end. His actions prove to him that this purchase is a good idea. Another major source of credibility is when you offer statements from authoritative source as the quality of your product or service from clippings, magazines, articles, or review in magazines like Consumer Reports. Whenever a respected outside authority compares your product to others and gives you a high ranking, it causes your customers' buying temperature to increase. Some people won't buy a product until a reliable third party has passed judgment on it and given it a high rating. And if appropriate to your product or service, use photos as well. You can multiply the strength and power of your sales presentation by lacing it throughout with relevant stories, testimonials, and authoritative comments that attest to the value and quality of what you are selling. As the prospect believes in you and your statements goes up, his natural skepticism and reluctancy declines. At the end of your sales presentation, if you have done it properly, the customer will just about be ready to take action. The TDPPR formula. The TDPPR formula. In multi-call selling, at the end of a conversation, one of our 4 things will take place. The customer will agree to buy. The, customer will agree to buy. The 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 customer will agr The customer will suggest that you keep in touch with no definite date in mind, or the customer will agree to the next logical step in sales process. Your job is to keep the sales moving forward. It is develop and maintain momentum. You must keep the initiative. Once you begin the sales process, you have to keep the ball rolling or it will come to a halt, and your probability of making the sales will drop towards zero. The way to do this is by establishing a TDPPR. TDPPR stands for time, date, place, persons, and reason. If your sales manager asks you, how is it that sales is going? You should be able to answer by telling him exactly at what stage the sale is and when your next time, date, place, person, and reason for appointment has been set. If you leave a prospect without nailing this down, you will have lost momentum in the sales and you may not have a prospect at all. To make a complex sale, you must accomplish certain objectives with each call. At the end of each call, you will have enough information to get back and prepare for the next call. The next call may be on the person in front of you or on someone else to get additional information. Gradually, you will assemble all the information you need into a finished proposal that will become the basics of your final presentation to the customer. At the end of each sales conversation, you should take the initiative by saying something like, based on our discussion, what I recommend is that we get together again towards the end of next week, by which time I have some numbers and comparisons for you to review before we go to the next step. How does that sound? Take out your time planner or your calendar and flip it to the page and date you have recommended. As much as possible, be persistent in getting agreement to a specific time, date, place, persons, and reason for the next call before you leave. Once you have it, repeat it back to double check and guide against error. Most prospects are extremely busy, and even if they are good potential customers for your product, they are reluctant to commit themselves very far in advance. Be aware of this and insist that you set some kind of TDPPR at that time with the options of changing it if something comes up. The prospect will almost invariably agree to set a specific time and date if he knows that it can be altered if needed. Summary. Your ability to set the stage and then present an interesting information, logical and persuasive presentation is essential to success in selling. Studies show that you can be average in every other part of sales process and still be very successful if you can make powerful presentation. When you finally get in front of a qualified prospect, you cannot leave a single detail to chance. Many sales are made because the salesperson mentioned one critical factor or gave one convincing piece of evidence for the sales decision. And many sales are lost because the salesperson fails to do so. You have heard the story about the man who stops a musician on the street in New York and asks him how to get to Carnegie Hall. The musician looked at him and says, "Practice, man, practice." The key to giving outstanding presentation is the same. You must plan, practice, rehearse, and review continually. You must go over every detail of your sales presentation from beginning to end prior to every presentation you give. You must go in knowing that you are completely ready to handle any question or argument that the prospect could possibly think of. It is common for a prospect to see you out of curiosity or politeness. Sometimes he will agree to meet with you simply because you have been professional and persistent in setting up the appointment. But he may come into the initial meeting with no interest whatever in purchasing your product or service. He is busy and preoccupied. His mind is somewhere else. His meeting with you is a duty that he must fulfill as part of his working day. His attitude towards your products may be neutral or negative. Most sales in America start off this way. The positive, prepared salesperson meets the negative, uninterested prospect. But the professional salesperson is prepared for this, is ready to take the prospect one step at a time, through the prospect from skepticism about product to complete conviction that this is exactly what he needs. Establishing a friendly relationship, asking questions to uncover real needs, and then giving a thoroughly planned professional sales presentation is the key to turning the prospect around from a doubter to a customer. This is the business you are in. You talk to people who have no interest in what you're selling. They have no concept at all of how they could be better off by accepting your recommendation. Your job is to turn them from foe into friends. Your job is to convert them from a suspicious person into a committed customer. Your job is to use your personality and persuasive skill to build high quality customers, relationships that result in immediate sales, and then continue with sales and referral into the future. This is what you get paid for, and there's no limits to how good you can become if you work at it. Okay? So with that, we've come to the end of our book reading in chapter 9, which says how to make powerful sales presentation. So far, we have taught us that making an outstanding presentation concerning your product or service is very important. So you must plan, you must practice, you must rehearse, you must review continually. You must not miss out any information or detail either concerning your product and service or concerning the client you're meeting with. We talked about mega credibility. We visited. If you can remember what we read about mega credibility, it is where you prepare your presentation materials, where you prepare your testimonial, prepare your product list, its benefits and its features. All these things are what you will need to talk to your customers about your product. Also, we talked about letters, that is like testimonials from customers that have used your product and services before, and they are writing a letter to you, or to tell your next customer or client how good your product is. If you remember, I told us that most high people, or most influential people, will not get a product unless they get a third party review, like a third party testimonial, that a second person that have used your product and is testifying that your product is very good. So mega credibility is very important, and it has told us how to gather information for mega credibility. You can gather them from pictures that you took, letters, testimonials from customers. And we talked about the TDPPR formula, which stands for time, date, place, person, and reason. So as a sales person or as a sales manager, when putting up a meeting with a client, make sure that they put time, there is date, there is place, there is the person and reason. Put all these things down. Is a standard for making sales, to know how things are going and to know how you'll be able to answer your superior and to know when your next meeting will take place. So next time that you're leaving a customer or you're leaving a client's place and it's asking you to come back next time, or you on your own want to fix a meeting for you to explain your product more to this client or customer, always fix a time, always fix a date, always fix a place, and always fix a reason for that appointment. It may be that, okay, I am coming back for this appointment because I want to give you so thing, or I want to bring a product for you to test, or I want you to I want to show you something about my product and services. So all this can go a long way in making you look professional when it comes to sale. So that is it for our book reading in chapter 9, how to make powerful presentation. Thank you.